Ferrari's 2026 engine just triggered a full FIA investigation, and the reason isn't horsepower. It's what they tried to hide inside their hybrid control system. Why would Ferrari risk bending the rules just months before engine homologation, and what exactly did the FIA discover that forced them to act now? You're about to uncover how a subtle gray area buried in thermal data flow could be Ferrari's secret weapon, or their undoing. From rejected steel combustion heads to untraceable sensor manipulation, this story has everything. And here's the part nobody saw coming. If the FIA declares this system illegal, Ferrari may have to rebuild from scratch with time already running out. The FIA's investigation into Ferrari's 2026 engine didn't start with a protest from a rival team. It started with a question no one could answer. During a closed-door technical compliance review, one of the FIA's hybrid integration specialists noticed something strange. Ferrari's energy deployment rate remained unusually stable across heat cycles, far more consistent than any other manufacturer. At first, it seemed like optimization, but further analysis suggested a more unsettling possibility. Ferrari may have introduced a sensor feedback loop that manipulates the system's thermal data without triggering standard monitoring protocols. That, in the context of FIA rules, is a gray area too sensitive to ignore. At the core of the controversy is Ferrari's use of closed-cycle thermal sensors within their structural battery enclosure. Unlike traditional sensors, which measure real-time temperature and voltage deltas to inform hybrid deployment logic, Ferrari's units appear to rely on predictive modeling, adjusting energy flow before the thermal load hits a critical threshold. That's clever. But the problem is this: the system anticipates conditions based on historical data and embedded AI algorithms, not real-time FIA-monitored metrics. This opens the door to theoretical manipulation, optimizing power delivery in ways that might go unnoticed during standard compliance testing. It's not outright illegal, but it walks a fine line between innovation and deception. The implications of this are enormous. If Ferrari's system is ruled legal, they've effectively created a smarter hybrid unit, one that learns and adapts with every race, smoothing out energy deployment while managing heat stress with surgical precision. But if it's ruled illegal, then every part of their hybrid platform battery, inverter, control unit would require recertification. And with engine homologation looming, Ferrari doesn't have the luxury of time. This isn't just a compliance issue. It's a potential performance crisis that could unravel months of development and put their entire 2026 power unit program at risk. Adding fuel to the fire is a previously shelved combustion concept Ferrari quietly revisited late in development. Internally dubbed the Steel Crown Project, it involved using a high-density steel blend in the upper combustion chamber to stabilize expansion rates at high load. The idea was scrapped due to micro-crack risks, but key elements of that thermal model were retained in the final calibration software. Now, the FIA is asking whether Ferrari is using thermal behavior data from an illegal material to justify control settings on a legal design. It's a technical minefield, and the line between simulation and implementation is rapidly blurring. Meanwhile, rival teams aren't staying quiet. Mercedes, still reeling from their own power unit leaks, have reportedly submitted a formal request to review Ferrari's 2026 cooling data, arguing that the system affects deployment in a non-transparent manner. Red Bull, characteristically more surgical, has begun modeling Ferrari's intake cooling hybrid on their own rigs, suggesting they believe there's a loophole worth chasing. If the FIA allows it, the entire paddock could shift toward these predictive sensor systems. If not, Ferrari becomes the cautionary tale of what happens when innovation outpaces regulation. From inside Maranello, sources say the mood is tense but defiant. Fred Vasseur has not backed down. Instead, he's doubled down, ordering full legal reviews of every system interaction between hybrid energy release, sensor logic, and temperature modulation. Ferrari's position is clear. They believe their interpretation of the 2026 rules is valid, and that the gray area only exists because the FIA didn't foresee this level of integration. But that confidence may be short-lived. FIA investigators have now requested complete sensor logs from the last 2 bench tests, along with verification of the system's predictive training data. That's no longer a checkup. It's a forensic audit. And this raises a critical question for the audience. When does innovation become manipulation? Should Ferrari be praised for pushing boundaries within a vague rule set or penalized for exploiting oversight? This isn't just about legality. It's about ethics, perception, and the future direction of Formula One engineering. And as the investigation unfolds, the outcome could redefine how hybrid systems are designed, tested, and controlled for years to come. Internally, Ferrari now faces one of the most difficult balancing acts in its modern hybrid era. On one side is performance real, tangible gains born from months of advanced modeling and cutting-edge sensor integration. On the other side is regulatory survival. If they hold their ground, and the FIA eventually validates their system, Ferrari could begin 2026 with a decisive edge, particularly in long-run consistency and temperature-controlled deployment. But if they're forced to walk back their design, every component tied to this feedback loop from energy recovery mapping to torque calibration would need immediate revision. That would not only compromise the car's balance, but potentially derail the entire chassis hybrid integration Ferrari has spent 2 years refining. Within Ferrari's technical leadership, there are growing whispers of internal disagreement. While Vasseur remains outwardly supportive of the current approach, several engineers, particularly those from the battery development team, have raised flags about the predictability of the system under stress. Their concern is not just legality, but reliability. The predictive system, by its nature, uses patterns from test data, which may not fully account for edge case scenarios like high-altitude races or rapidly shifting ambient conditions. If the system miscalculates during a race, it could trigger a cascade failure not unlike the infamous MGUK issues seen in early turbo-hybrid seasons. In short, Ferrari may have built something brilliant, but fragile. Beyond the technical risks, this investigation could set off political shockwaves that last well beyond the 2026 season. If the FIA determines Ferrari's system is a breach not of rule, but of spirit, it may signal a crackdown on any innovation not explicitly written into the regulations. That kind of ruling could fundamentally alter the development philosophy for every team. Engineers would become more cautious. Risk-taking would be discouraged. And Formula One could slide further into a world of homogeneous solutions where the only advantage lies in execution, not invention. But if Ferrari is cleared, it opens the floodgates. Every power unit manufacturer will scramble to retool their sensor networks and predictive mapping, unleashing a new arms race in hybrid intelligence. Mercedes and Red Bull are already reacting, as if the latter outcome is inevitable. Mercedes has reportedly begun drafting a new internal power unit Spec 1 that shifts focus from pure combustion refinement to enhanced system learning. They're betting that even if Ferrari's exact approach is outlawed, the FIA will need to leave room for controlled adaptive logic in the future. Red Bull, meanwhile, has taken a different path. Rather than mimic Ferrari's technology, they're exploring whether the same thermal modulation advantage can be gained through aerodynamic trickery, routing airflow through the battery structure to manipulate energy states without touching the hybrid system directly. It's a reminder that in Formula One, there's always more than one way to break the rules legally. Meanwhile, inside FIA headquarters, the investigation is becoming a litmus test for the organization's credibility. Past gray area rulings, such as Mercedes' DS system or Red Bull's flexi-wing designs, were highly public, yet carefully handled. The difference this time is timing. This is not mid-season. It's pre-homologation. The FIA knows that whatever they decide will lock teams into a fixed design for multiple years. That makes the stakes higher than ever. And because Ferrari is involved, a team with political weight and historical clout, the ruling will be scrutinized not just for technical accuracy, but for fairness, transparency, and precedent. Ferrari's fans, too, are watching with a mix of hope and anxiety. Many see this moment as a chance for the team to reclaim its edge through sheer engineering audacity. For years, Ferrari has been labeled conservative, too afraid to gamble, too focused on tradition. But Project 678 represents a break from that mindset. It's bold, it's aggressive, and now it's controversial. Whether it leads to glory or disaster may depend entirely on a handful of technical interpretations and the courage of a regulatory body to make a call with massive implications. In a sport where milliseconds matter, the difference between legal and illegal could define Ferrari's decade. And so we ask you, if you were in Vasseur's position, would you risk it all on an innovation the rulebook doesn't forbid but doesn't quite allow either? Would you push the limits of technology, knowing that one FIA meeting could erase years of progress? Or would you play it safe and sacrifice potential advantage to avoid the political spotlight? Your answer says a lot, not just about racing, but about how you think champions are made.